Regal Movie Masters. Unlimited.
This is the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited podcast where we indiscriminately watch every goddamn movie that comes out at the local theaters. Your movie masters today are Justine.
Hi.
Brent.
Hello.
Dylan.
What's up?
I am Colin. Why did you laugh when I was doing that introduction?
Because you're standing up.
I'm
Weird, you're waving that gun.
I'm fired up and I'm ready to defend
And you're like
myself.
wearing like a gold plate, like chest plate.
Listen, I have haters.
And a crown.
I have haters. I have people who want to see me dead. They don't want to hear me talk about movies. I come on here every week to tell you about them.
It must be those really shiny shoes that they hate.
We have an electronic mail, which you can contact us at. It's moviemasters760@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, etc. We are on an Instagram. It is Official Movie Masters. We got a full docket of movies that I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs about. We're leading with Eileen. Dylan, do you know her last name? What is Eileen's last name?
I don't remember. You want to tell me?
Dover. We got
ready.
The Disappearance of Share
Height.
Which you're gonna get ready for me to pronounce that as tight a lot for no reason. We got what am I talking about? We got The Boy and the Heron. Is it
Miyazaki.
But is it Ghibli?
Yeah.
It's Ghibli / Miyazaki.
Uh-huh.
The legends back together to bring you another animated feature, and we're closing out. You're going to want to stay around for this one. The LDS centric.
Spoilers.
True. You know what? We got this isn't a spoiler. You got to get them to stay on for the whole time. The LDS centric film directed by a January 6th insurrectionist. Everyone stick around for the oath. But before we can get into people who had to change their names after that date, Dylan.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us the first movie we're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about Eileen. It's in 1964, a young secretary becomes enchanted by Rebecca, the glamorous new counselor at the prison where she works. Their budding friendship soon takes a twisted turn when Rebecca reveals a dark secret. Thomasin McKenzie as Eileen, Anne Hathaway as Rebecca, and it is directed by William Oldroyd, who did Lady Macbeth. And this movie rocked, and I liked it a lot.
You're being for real with me right now?
Yeah, I wish I can hear it. I had someone screaming other accents in my ear the entire time.
Oh, did you watch this with me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was yelling the whole movie.
We were the only people there.
Yeah.
So
No,
don't worry.
it was almost full. It was damn near full. If anything, there was maybe 3 in the very, very front, empty seats.
Yeah, so this is maybe it was because I watched it was fresh off the heels of the documentary about the feminist writer Share Height, that I was maybe a little conscious. I was like, oh, this is a boy director and a boy writer adapting a screenplay based on a book written by a woman, and there's a lot of choices that I think a boy director would make. I kind of got the sense that they wanted to do a Pearl thing, look at this weird, creepy girl, except they didn't really have the chops, I guess, to pull off how you might do a more endearing version of this film. Everyone, for no reason, this movie is in New England. It's in Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
Why?
Did we see another one that had thick Massachusetts accents recently?
Well, if it's what I was thinking, it was what's her name in New York?
Yeah.
With Mother's Milk, Heron.
Yes. What's that? Was it called Mother's Milk?
No.
Yeah,
I
that
know
was
what
just
you're
Isn't
talking
it called
Mother.
Mother?
The Good Mother.
The
Yeah.
Good Mother.
The Good Mother. That's what it was.
Another
Yeah,
one where
yeah.
Sandra Bullock struggles with
It's not Sandra Bullock.
who is it?
Hilary Swank?
Hilary
Yes,
Swank.
yes.
Damn, I
Hey,
didn't
you
even
fucking
see it.
guys, get over here. I don't know why you have to set. Couldn't this movie just be in LA? Is there anything that makes
Well, maybe
it?
the book takes place in Massachusetts.
Yeah, so change it.
Well, no, it's based
I don't
on
think
the
I
book.
have a hard time believing in the book. It's like, and she was just sitting there in the waiting room and she starts beating off because she's a weirdo.
I'm sure it
I
does.
bet that was
You
added.
didn't read it like I did.
I didn't read it.
But I think you're like when you said it in Massachusetts and you circulate the script, you're chumming the waters because every actor wants to do an accent.
But do they? This is
Yes, they do.
They
should
yeah,
have
did you
tried.
see it? They were doing it. And it
I
was
know
fun.
they
It was a
were,
fun
but
time,
it was-
honestly.
Ooh, they
Poor,
tried.
poor Anne Hathaway, a cinematic icon, a legend.
Well, no, she's just sharpening her knives, bro.
What was that? What was the last one she was in?
She was just in She Came to Me.
Which was a 10 out of 10 movie, a great film, and she was great in it. And then she's in this one, be like, I was making a joke. It was my joke that I made that I think this was a joke for Dylan. I said that she's only talking in white zombie samples. I don't know if that translates to everyone, but it's like the whole thing is just like, I don't do things like other girls. See, I'm my own lady. I'm a tough broad and I'm broadening it up. These men better watch out.
Want to try me?
Yeah.
I'll punch you out in a boss, see?
And I'm just like imagining every line she's saying just cut up with like dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I was going to the place where the thing was happening, Wolfman. I don't do things that are halfway. I do them all the way or I don't do them. Yeah. Yeah, it's all that. It's all, like all of her
So good.
dialogue. But the main part is this girl, the other girl, Eileen, last name withheld. She was she is like fixated on the Anne Hathaway girl, and she has a bad dad. I don't know.
You're right about the Pearl thing because at the end they did like they put the title, right as she's going onto the highway. It felt very Pearl-esque.
I mean, there's a lot of movies that are portraits of, or like, psychological portrayals of like kooky people and everything, but it just didn't have the kind of depth, and I think it was a little like more lurid. I think when it didn't have the real substance to flesh the character out, it just devolved to, pointing a gun at people and beating off in the waiting room at her work.
There was a lot of masturbation and dropping things in the first part of the movie. I had this weird thought when I was watching it because I had just watched this Orson Welles interview where he's talking about Citizen Kane, and they're asking him, "Why do you have that cockatoo just screaming in the middle of the movie?" They go, "Oh, that was like because it's kind of boring to that point. I wanted to like wake people up." So in this movie, it felt like that was happening, I think 3 times, because there was like the part where she shoots herself in the head,
Right.
part where she like shoots her dad. I understand it's her vision for it, but at the same time, it's like they keep going to that well, so that when she actually shoots the lady, it's like, oh, is this just a fantasy, a dream? So it's kind of hard to lock into it. It was also hard to lock into it because people were vaping in my theater the whole time.
Well, what flavor were they vaping? Watermelon?
It was like some gross like honeycomb, and then there's like other flavors. So
Honeycomb?
Honeycomb sounds delight by vape standards.
by itself.
By vape, if it's cross pollinating with
It was
like cotton
cross-pollinating.
candy.
There was a whole row of just obnoxious people that were just vaping different flavors. It smelled so bad.
I think this is also like my pet peeve is movies that like wear the skin of an artistic film,
Right.
But they're not
It was
really.
stylized. Yeah.
The craft isn't there, and I don't think the care is there. I don't think the vision is there. It's ultimately just product is what it boils down again because of like scenes like you're saying where it's just like, whoa, wouldn't it be trippy if she just shot herself right now? And I don't know. Yeah, exactly. The psych out stuff,
Yep.
and then trailer baiting. I've heard this phrase before,
Okay.
and I didn't really put it together, or I haven't been able to like really identify it. Because you could say, well, if you're watching, let's say, a superhero movie, and then the superhero does some crazy thing, and you're like, oh, well, they just did that for the trailer.
Yeah.
But it's like they do crazy things in these movies. The trailers are just the highlights. Anne Hathaway, at one point, she's like in this house, and she invites a girl over. She's like, I could do anything in this house that I want. See? And then she screams really loud, and it's like, oh, you did that so that you could put in the trailer Anne Hathaway screaming all loud. All these little moments peppered
Whereas
in
like
like
the
that.
actual character, like you're like, okay.
Yeah. Why are you doing this? Oh, yeah, for the trailer. Because if you don't have a moment where they're yelling or a gun is firing or something like that is happening, it's kind of a dull story. To which I say, well, then why make the fucking movie if it's you have to put pepper in these things that have nothing to do with actual character development, aren't really engaging to me, at least. Just it just seems very hollow. I'm a curmudgeon on this film, but I don't know. What did you guys have anything nicer to say about it?
No. So it's only like an hour and a half. And like the first 30 minutes have no bearing on the rest of the movie. Yeah. So the masturbation scenes, her like stalking guys that work she works at a juvenile detention facility, and like lives with her dad only, and her dad is a severe alcoholic, like always talking down to her, so she seems really sad and no one likes her at work. Then the lady comes, takes a shine to her, and she's like, oh wow, this lady is the coolest. Starts like mimicking her, and you're not sure if she's interested in her romantically or if she's just kind of obsessing over her because she's a weirdo. But I was like, oh, this is based on a book. And the summary is something that goes along the lines of a sad young woman is taken with a, what's the word that's like, she's not like other girls.
Idiosyncratic?
Sure. Like a...
Quirky.
Okay, like a quirky lady comes into her life, and it's about two women who form a bond while working in a juvenile detention facility. And I was like, that sounds like a totally different movie than what we watched. And so I'm not sure how faithful an adaptation this is to the source material. And I know that the author had something to do with it. I don't know if
to the screenplay.
She's like a co-writer. Something.
Yeah, there's two of them.
But they'll just put those in.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Like whether they have something to do with the actual movie or not.
Yeah, and I'm wondering also if it's just like because she wrote the book,
right?
She's
credited.
Technically should be credited as such, or could be anyway. But yeah, so I was really disappointed that the parts that seemed more interesting, which were about this girl that's in this go nowhere life, and her dad is ragging on her all the time, could have gone somewhere, but those parts were so like simplified. It was really boring. More boring than it should have been. It's like, those people, there's people that are basically main characters, and then there's people that are just in the background and not really doing anything. Those people are NPCs. That's you.
Yeah.
That's you, Eileen. It's like, really? You're just going to come out right and say it instead of like...
just irrational dialogue. Things that no one would say, that no one would do. It's impossible to care.
Yeah, so it's like they're literally having somebody tell you what they're supposed to be portraying to you, and that's really obnoxious. And then again, like where a lot of time is spent on the scene that doesn't mean anything. There's that whole dancing part, which I saw in a trailer, where they're like dancing in a bar, and it's supposed to be like, oh, she's a free spirit. That's what I was trying to think of. It's like, whatever, Anne Hathaway is like such a free spirit, and she's supposed to be showing this, sad girl that she can be more than this mousy throwaway kind of person. But they dance for a long time. And then she like hit someone and no one cares in the bar. Yeah. And that's just like, okay, that was in the trailer too, and it doesn't really take it anywhere. I was just bothered by the fact that everything that was a scene that you could tell they spent a lot of time on was something that they didn't need to spend a lot of time on, and ultimately was a very shallow movie because in the twist, I was legitimately like, what did she say? Is she being serious? I can't tell. When she tells her, this isn't my house, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, what? And I'm like, wait, is she serious? Because that seems like a very abrupt turn from what this character has been portrayed as to us. It didn't seem like what the character would do. I'm not saying, that she wouldn't have based on whatever the book said, but I'm saying what we saw in the movie, that seems really out of character.
Yeah, the takeaway was almost like lesbians have secrets and they're dark.
You don't know that she's a lesbian.
It was implied.
But she could have just, when she's saying like, we seem to have some things in common, I think she was referring to the crimes.
She absolutely was.
So at no other time was she really like, I guess she could have been kind of flirting with her, but it doesn't mean that she was like actually interested. If she just ran away after they don't even know if they killed that lady. After they shot that lady, she just seems like she just takes advantage of people. So she was just, the waitress touching the people, at the table to get a better tip.
Right.
It's kind of like what she was doing. So you don't even have that aspect of it. It's like, oh, this woman was just using her. That's kind of sad. But I don't know, because I don't know enough about this character, since they keep just throwing all this random stuff about her.
To go back to my point about like wearing the skin of an artful film, I have said many times that I think the through line of like an artsier film versus a more entertainment-oriented film is this notion of ambiguity of, you know, you can kind of interpret yourself what is going on screen. To use that as a cover-up for not really having a story, like the ending is pretty ambiguous, but is it to give the viewer, you know, their own way of interpreting the story, or is it because they just couldn't come up with a good excuse for a good ending? And so if you leave it kind of open-ended, it's like you're kind of washing your hands of taking responsibility. And same with like the will they, won't they of the like romantic undertones between the two. Is it because you just don't want to commit to a proper queer film or like tie up the knot of the romantic interests of these two ladies? You know, are you really creating something open-ended, or are you just lazy? I think it's lazy, and that's why I was like pretty insulted by. This isn't a unique problem to this film. It's a very obnoxious trait I see in a lot of movies where it's an impression of better made films.
If you want to name names, it seems like it's in a way wearing the skin of like Mulholland Drive without having any of that David Lynch legitimate weirdness.
Well, yeah, the last 20 minutes I think start to feel very film noir, but like if you were like, give me a camera and be like, make a film noir movie, be like, I don't know, ladies in high heels, they walk around and they're
Fur
like,
coats.
There's a prison.
Yeah, listen, see, we gotta scram. This city's beat.
Oh, they
kid.
drink whiskey.
Yeah, you know, it's like I don't really understand it. I don't know kind of an idea of it. I could probably put a pastiche of it together, but it wouldn't actually convey what those films convey in this. And again, it's a tonal shift. Even I think the score starts changing.
It does.
In like the last, not even the last third. It's like the last quarter, maybe the last fifth, where it just takes
Tempo
this sharp
picks up,
turn. And it is just so wildly unsatisfying.
I will say that I did like the twist because there was just nothing until then. It was just kind of like, all right, Jesus. I couldn't even get mad at the row of people on their phones vaping because I was like, what else are they going to do? You know,
there's not
like,
much for them.
Yeah.
Dylan, you're a kinder man than all of us.
Mm-hmm.
What did you get from it?
You know, I got a story of psychological empowerment and thriller like aspects from the film, and I really enjoyed all those times where she was shooting herself or shooting her dad, and I went, been there before, man. Like I've been there. Like my brain's like that. I get it.
Okay, actually, you reminded me. That was a genuine belly laugh I had when the girl, they're like talking about this kid in the juvenile detention center that killed his father, and they're like, what makes a kid kill his dad? And she's like, everyone wants to kill their dad.
Yeah,
that was funny.
That was a good joke.
Good line. Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, I understand the character of Eileen Dover, and you know, like it's not bad. You know, I didn't hate the film, didn't love it.
Right.
It's very right down the middle for me. Like it didn't do much, but I appreciate, you know, like a good filter over film, you know, like a film grain or whatever. I really appreciate that in movies, and I like William Oldroy just not really treating the audience like a child. It's like, oh, well, no, here's an adult film for you adults. This is rated R. Thank you.
And I mean, in all fairness, for Dylan to say I didn't love it, even if it's followed with the I didn't hate it, it's still, by the Dylan scale,
oh yeah,
pretty rough.
Yeah,
gotta do some damage.
That's
so
pretty good.
I think that's telling.
It's more positive than negative.
I'd agree with you. It is more positive.
I don't think we need to go any deeper than this one. Eileen Dover, are we going to park the car in Harvard Yard, or are we going to send this one to juvie? I'm going to send this one to juvie. It is a bad movie. The end.
Yeah, this movie needs to go to juvie. Think about what it did wrong. You know, there are only really two people in it. I don't think Anne Hathaway did a great job. She's like pretending to be Anne Hathaway a little bit. I think the other girl, the Thomasine girl, did a good job when it was like the serious stuff or her more contemplative stuff. Just her kind of being sad.
Staring out the window.
Yeah, she has a sad demeanor about her. I couldn't remember where she was from, but she's the girl in Jojo Rabbit.
Okay.
Yeah, which is another sad girl.
You got a sad girl.
Convincing.
You got you.
Sad girl.
I'm not sure how to rate this. I guess park the car at juvie and
Okay.
just with the ignition running so that the exhaust is coming into the cabin.
Oh, you're
And
trying
jerk
to do it-
off?
Yeah, then jerk off, puke, and then
Yeah.
die.
That's like porn brain in the director's half. We're like, oh, she's going to watch these people make out. And it's weird because I can again, not to get too feminist theory on here, but that male gaze shit, man, if you like,
Yeah, it was
that is
present through
very
the whole
much
thing.
like every pornographic film ever. Every romance novel or like lurid paperback, the cover is like some girl watching two people making out and she's, rubbing herself or whatever. It's like, this is, if you think this is how women are watching people and acting, you have watched too much porn. Sorry, bro.
I'll park the car in the garage. As a fan of the book of the same name, Eileen, written by Otessa Moshfik, I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a good book to screen adaptation. Honestly, from what I remember from the book when I read it, the words were just put on screen beautifully, and I just was like, you know what? Kudos.
Words were put on screen literally.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
actors.
you didn't get the subbed version.
Yeah.
When I watched the sub version.
Yeah, I liked it.
Hey, speaking of subbed and dubbed, what's next?
Well, we have the dub version of The Boy and the Heron. It's about a little boy named Mahito, a young 12-year-old boy, struggles to settle in a new town after his mother's death. However, when a talking heron informs Mahito that his mother is still alive, he enters an abandoned tower in search of her, which takes him to another world. A semi-autobiographical fantasy from the mind of Miyazaki. It features Luca Padovin as Mahito, Christian Bale as his dad, Robert Pattinson as the Heron, Willem Dafoe as the Pelican, Dave Bautista as the Parakeet King, Mark Hamill as the Granduncle, Gemma Chan as Natsuko, and directed by the legendary Miyazaki. Yes.
I didn't believe those credits until I heard Mark Hamill, and then I was like, okay, yeah.
Oh,
Two
yeah.
Batmans and a Joker, baby.
And a Green Goblin.
And a Drax.
And a Drax.
And a Drax.
And what is her name?
Black Widow's sister.
Yeah, her name is Black
It's not
Widow's
Black
sister.
Widow's sister.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Florence
she's in
Pugh.
it.
She's in it?
Yeah.
How come I didn't see her name in the...
Too low. Too low
What is
down.
her-
What is she?
comic
Like the
name.
fucking other
Black Widow's
nanny?
sister.
Okay.
Dylan, you're the
What?
you're the Ghibli head up in here.
Yes.
How do you rate it compared to the director's other body of work?
I did like this one a lot. Visually was just stunning and amazing. How much man hours are there.
Yeah.
Just animating everything. And that aspect's really good. The story's pretty good. Between this film and his last film, I would say I like this one. I think his last film was...
It wasn't it was like Ponyo, then something else. But this is this is his first movie in 10 years, from what I could tell. So he's been cooking with this one, slow simmering. If I'm not getting my wires crossed, I heard that this was I don't know, kind of a passion project for him. He was spending a lot of time doing a lot of the work by hand. Yeah, just really pouring himself into the work. Am I getting these wires crossed, Dylan? My Ghibli head.
No, you're not wrong. And the last movie was The Wind Rises, which is another semi-fantasy autobiography of it. But anyway, no, you're not wrong. It did take him forever. I think The Wind Rises was out in 2013.
Yes.
So yeah, 10 years he just worked on it. And between then, in the middle of it, there was a short documentary released in theaters. I think you can watch it on HBO Max, where he's trying to make this movie, but the studio is also making the other movie that came out on HBO Max during lockdown. Do you remember that movie?
I don't. What was it called?
Fuck. See, I don't remember either because it wasn't that I didn't like it, but it was mostly 3D animation. Do you remember
Okay.
about like a girl, and I think there's like a band playing in the club. I can't remember what it's called, but he was making fun of his son, being like, why the fuck would you make a 3D animated movie? You should do fucking 2D because it looks better.
He's like, are you new here?
Yeah, like, I mean, you're my fucking kid. Like, I thought I raised you better. That documentary's insane because he's like so pissed off at everyone. Because he's like, you know, you think of Ghibli, you think of like, oh, happy kids and like fantasy characters, Totoro. Then he's like the man just smoking a cigarette, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck are you guys doing in my house?
No, this is like, I guess this is kind of like, if you wanted to make a case for 2D animation, this is astonishing visually. And I've always found with his work and the Ghibli stuff in general, I'm like visually amazed by it and impressed. And it's never some stuff where I'm like, this is bullshit. This is all hot smoke and mirrors. This is BS. I'm like, damn, this is really impressive. I cannot connect with this shit emotionally at all. Any of these stories, and it's sad to me that I can't like get it, you know. And this is really something I would say I don't get, like the stories of them. I don't know. I just don't have like an in, I guess. And this film, I had the same issue. I mean, it's again visually, underline it 5 times, astonishing. I would say prior to this, my favorite animated film of the year, probably my still favorite, was The Inventor. I was really moved by that one, but I have to say this is the best animated movie of the year, even though I didn't, again, connect with it necessarily, just because of just how amazing it looks.
It's the best animated movie.
Yes, it's
not
the best
animated movie.
It's the best animated movie. I don't think it's my favorite, but it should be because it's just very well done. I was like, I don't know, I really did get like, even though I don't connect with a lot of these movies, I had like the movie magic moment, man, watching this. I was like really just entranced with it. I had no problem just recommending it to anyone because it's just it's giving Never Ending Story. It's giving Labyrinth, because the kid gets kind of sucked into this like other dimension and everything's all weird and all the character design is incredible and everything he's meeting is just like a new adventure he's on, a new batch of critters. Yeah, I don't know. It makes me feel the way I felt as a kid watching those movies for the first time, of just like, what the hell is going to happen next? And you're totally immersed in the world and you're seeing it through the child character. It was very, very impressive to me. I'll say that much.
Wait, I just realized when you said that you're seeing it through the eyes of the protagonist child, that the kids in these movies are always so like serious. You know, it's kind of strange.
Everything's serious. And kind of the through line with a lot of these movies, this movie included, is kind of a joylessness. It's a little morose. Again, it's like you look at Totoro and you're like, oh my God, what a fun, cuddly little critter that is. And then you watch Totoro and you're just like, all right, we are chugging along here. You know,
Dylan, is that a through line through a lot of Ghibli stuff?
Most.
Yeah. Maybe that's why. Maybe it just appeals to a certain type of person that like really digs that vibe.
I suppose. I mean, I think it appeals to people who, if
really
you wanted to see like the
animation.
peak of what 2D animation can be.
Yeah.
I mean, barring like, you know, the classic Disney stuff that inspired these movies, it's about as good as it gets. And to see something like this made in the modern era is like, again, incredibly impressive. And, you know, I will say this did feel like a personal story in a sense, even though it is very fantasy based. I very much so got the sense of like someone looking back at their life and thinking about their childhood as an elderly person or someone later stage in life looking back at their childhood and just how weird it is and how scary it is and how you have to acclimate to things very quickly. And I don't know, kind of a loneliness to it. Yeah, like I said, it conveys a certain kind of feeling, not necessarily a warm, fun feeling, but a very unique feeling and one that is perfectly suited to the medium. So again, I'll double down. Very impressive.
I like watching these movies because they are really visually engaging. I have no idea what happened. Like toward the end when it's all multiverse and stuff, I'm like,
Right.
wait, his mom is all these people? And that can happen because they're coming out of different doors, so they're like from different realities, but they're meeting in this one place that's like outside of realities, but they all know that there's other ones of them. It's very confusing, like as a story. You know, the different places that he goes before he starts dealing with his moms are cool. I really like the parakeets. That's the best part. Of the whole
and
movie.
that's, I think, another through line through a lot of these movies is like, if you're ever bored, they're going to bring out the cutest little thing, some crazy looking creature that is just absolutely adorable. And this movie, like, yeah, the birds and just almost all the little critters they bring out are some kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
And yeah, those parakeets, I agree, are
I'm glad
incredible.
you brought
character
that
design.
up about not understanding what's going on at certain points, because a lot of times with a lot of the Toho movies, like Ultraman in particular, there'll just be like entire sections where I'm going, what the hell is happening? This is visually cool, but I have no idea what they're trying to communicate here.
Yeah, story is very complicated, I guess.
I think it's like it's, I don't know, impressionistic. You know, you walk away with a feeling more than like, well, first this happened, then that happened, and because of that, this other thing happened. They're legitimately in this movie introducing you to this whole new world and set of rules to this realm. So I don't know. You're just kind of like, yeah, walking away with a feeling more than a plot.
Is there like maybe a cultural thing that we just don't have here that may be present in these type of movies?
I mean, there's a lot of anime that is like just fun and grounded and super easy to watch and palatable. The Ghibli stuff specifically, which is, you know, the Miyazaki's mind, kind of like his vision specifically, I think more than just a broad strokes condemnation of anime in general. It's just he has like a very specific vision, I think. And again, emotionally, I can't say I ever connect with it, but god damn do I respect it. And I respect his consistency in putting it out, you know, like I'm you guys know when I don't like something or when I like don't understand something, I'll be like, this is bullshit. No, only idiots like this. Like I'm very, I don't know about closed-minded necessarily, but I'm very judgmental. You'll hear me say about anything I don't really like some mean things about it, but like you'll never hear me disrespect Ghibli stuff because it is just impressive. And this is that's this movie too.
Very artistic, but I'm like, I think of these movies like I mean, a lot of it is just cultural. Obviously, like there's a lot of things that we just know, like the school kids, you know, the respecting your elders and everything, you know, that's normal. And the general pace of life and open spaces and stuff, that's kind of, everything is like a lot slower, a lot like is breathing on screen a lot of the time. So that's kind of a harder turn to make when you're used to watching just craziness or stupidity.
When the last animated movie you saw was Trolls World Tour.
Yeah, just like calm down. And now you have to like slow down and sit and breathe and stuff. And I can get behind movies like that. I think it's not like a criticism. It's just like it's not aligned with my general tastes. It reminds me of like classic literature. Very flowery language, very descriptive, very slow. And I respect the artfulness of the writing, but it's like very flowery and kind of meandering, and I'm kind of like, all right, I get it, but it's just not my like cup of tea. These I will watch because they're so visually engaging, like I said, that you don't just feel like you're wasting your time or something with the story or anything, because you're getting to watch all this really beautiful stuff. So
yeah, you reminded me of something that I wanted to say nice about the movie that I did connect with and purely was like mesmerized by was the soundtrack. This is some of the best use of silence, like the absence of sound, that I've seen in any movie this year, at least, where like they know how to let a scene breathe, how to not overpower it with music. When the music comes in, it's like gentle piano or score and like an action sequence or something, but they don't need to just insert sound constantly. And it's some of the most masterful use of just nothing you'll ever hear. I was really impressed by that.
You know what I associate with these movies in terms of sound is wind.
Okay.
Like grass or reeds or something, kind of like rustling. That's a sound that I think of when I think about these movies.
You know what you just reminded me of? Dude, I'm just gonna show off here. Went to Japan one time. Been to Japan a couple times actually.
You been in Japan?
Yeah. One trip last time I think I was there. Went to both Universal Japan, Disneyland Japan, and the Studio Gibli, like whatever that museum is called. Ghibli's the most calmest, like straight up like here's some trinkets of, you know, stuff you've seen before and like other stuff. Here's nice music and everyone's really chill. And then you go to like the Universal and it's like Dominion World. It's just like loud and fucking obnoxious.
Right.
It's not like crazy like here, but it's more like you just see a bunch of crazy colors fucking at you. And like Disneyland's really funny because like Cinderella's there and there's like a crowd of people around Cinderella. But in this one's like, wait in line while you take the photo next to this giant sculpture from the robot from this movie. It's like, dude, that's sick. Just like a really nice soundtrack too.
Hey.
Just like calm piano.
I want to go.
Yeah, it's really sick. Anyway, but no, this movie I really enjoyed a lot though. Like the soundscape that you were talking about, just like silence, just perfect. Like him like in his room, just like time's just going by and he's just laying there.
And like a lonely kid in the countryside.
Yeah.
You know, what else is it going to be like?
It's like, damn, this fucking hurts.
Yeah. Take me back.
Yeah.
Of course, I like the, what are they? Like the aunties.
Yeah.
They're great all the time. I like
the
them
nannies?
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
And man, that's like, there's a kind of a joke about like comic book artists. They can't draw like kids or babies. They just draw smaller men. You know, this movie's like, you know, adolescence looks like this. Older women look crazy. I guess older people just looking, you know, just insane. Kind of like how you would see an old person when you're a kid, like exaggerated ears and noses and stuff like that. And, you know, middle-aged women, adults, every different stage of a life is presented, and they all are unique in their look. And yeah, it's just, again, the care, the craft.
This did make me want to watch some more of those slice of life anime.
Yeah.
More slow stuff, but subtly funny.
Well, again, you could watch like Nichijou or something, and it's just like a fun time.
Yeah.
I think, ironically, slice of life anime is more exciting and fun and engaging than Ghibli stuff, which is like almost dour in a lot of its tones, depending on the film. Anywho.
Oh, you know what? Big shout out. Let's talk about this real quick. Robert Pattinson just did not fucking realize it was him doing that the entire time. Because before, ladies and gentlemen, before I walked in, Colin told me that there was two Batmans, a Joker, and what's it called? Green Goblin. And the entire time I thought Willem Dafoe was doing the fucking Heron. I was like, what is this voice? And then once Willem Dafoe actually shows up for like 10 seconds and
as
leaves.
A dying pelican.
Yeah.
The role he was meant to play.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. Who the fuck is the Heron?
Robert Pattinson.
I was like, this isn't Christian Bale. Christian Bale's the dad. I can tell that kind of.
Pattinson took those criticisms of him just being a gloomy Gus to heart, and he's like, all right, motherfuckers.
He's like, I've seen movies like this before.
You're going to make me be a heron with teeth? I'm going to fucking give you a heron with teeth.
Yeah.
And I'm going to perform the shit out of this. Yeah, granted, I haven't seen the subbed, so I can't compare properly. It would, you know, in a world where I had infinite time, it might be on my to-do list. But the dubbed, I can highly recommend for the voice acting, which, again, this is textbook. You get a celebrity to do a voice to do it just to have a name attached. That motherfucker performs. He delivers. Yeah. 10 out of 10 performance from Pattinson, who continues to just, you know, warm up. He's warming up to me. I'm warmed up to Pattinson. I'm pro Pattinson. A weirdo. I think a weirdo who had a strange introduction to the pop culture.
Yeah.
Through the blandest films. is now making up for lost time. The Boy and the Heron. Are you going to fly away with this one? Or just fucking not? Overwhelmingly, I'm recommending to fly away with this one. I was charmed, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fly Away. That heron is really cool. He's a fun guy. I really like the part where he's like, "See you later, sucker. My beak is fixed." And then he's like, "Just kidding. Fix my beak, please." And the fire scene in the beginning, and I think there's another one later on a little bit. That was really cool. And that was one of the scenes where I was like, man, just imagine drawing this by hand this whole time with all these wiggles and squiggles, and it was really impressive.
I'd fly away with this one. I can't wait for it to come out on HBO Max, dude. That's it.
Is this the animated film of the year, ladies and gentlemen?
I'd say it's the best looking animated film of the year.
Yeah.
Would you put this?
But I
on
didn't
here?
watch The Inventor. But I don't know.
Yeah,
if
We
I
haven't
wanna
seen
count
that
it.
yet?
No,
Oh, it's good, dude.
that's the Pinocchio one.
No,
Yeah.
that's the it's about Da
Da
Vinci.
Vinci.
Da Vinci.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's got the one we talked about that had like some Red Bull parts in it.
Right.
Yeah.
The Rock's in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't see it.
I don't know. I like Trolls.
I do. I like Trolls
Oh, yeah.
too. Trolls is
Pretty fucking good.
Listen, all right.
Yeah.
And
together.
the Ninja Turtles movie and the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, they're all fun. They're all fun.
There was there's like stiff competition in this field.
But if we're gonna talk visually,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't talk about The Inventor, but visually comparing all those films mentioned to The Boy and the Heron.
So far, overall experience, TMNT.
And I'm not mad at any of these picks. What are we talking about next, Dylan?
Oh yeah, we're talking about the new documentary, The Disappearance of Share Height. It's a riveting documentary. It's a must-see for everyone that is a human sexual being.
Fucking right it is.
It chronicles the rise,
Yeah.
fall, and the banishment of author and sex researcher Share Height, and delves into her writing the Height Report study of female sexuality and eventually male sexuality. This one was narrated by Dakota Johnson and directed by Nicole Newnham, who did a bunch of other documentaries.
This is a tremendous film. I was really taken aback by this one. I liked it a lot. No one knew who Share Height was before watching this, right?
It's this weird blind spot that you wouldn't think would be there, but it is.
So to the listeners who may also be ignorant of this, there's this lady Share Height from the late 60s into like the 70s. She was one of the earliest women sex researchers. She sent out like surveys and kind of, I don't want to say undid, but maybe added to the Masters and Johnson report or the Kinsey report, like these kind of early forays into studies on human sexuality. And she's sort of focused specifically on women's sexuality and maybe veered a little bit away from like the more clinical side and was kind of interested in, I don't know, just an overall sense of, I mean, some clinical things in terms of like, how do you come? How often do you masturbate? That sort of stuff, which of course at the time was taboo and, you know, not really talked about, especially among women. But given that she came out of like the kind of feminist movement and that New York academia.
Second wave.
Yeah, the culture was right for this kind of study. And so she publishes this book based on her studies. It goes gangbusters, does really well. And she becomes this like, was reminded a lot of like Philip K. Dick interviews, because he was a writer who kind of realized like, hey, if I'm just locked in my room writing all the time, it's not going to make some money. So I'll go out and get involved in talk shows. And he would do straight up publicity stunts to get people kind of engaged in the idea of writing. You know, Share Height didn't go that far, but she was a very much so public figure. And what makes the movie cool is that she was also a model during the time she was in college or when she was like kind of trying to make a living getting her first book written. And so there's a ton of visual stuff. Crazy things that you would never expect in this movie, such as there's this like pretty iconic James Bond poster and a pretty famous illustrator for like a commercial illustrator, a paperback illustrator. And he would use her as a model for everything. So she was like both of the Bond girls hanging off of James Bond. And they talked to the illustrator who kind of was telling his history with her and like how they kind of created their art, which is just, if you're interested in commercial illustration from that period, is like a great insight. So it's like, on one hand, like, yeah, okay, it's a documentary about a feminist sex researcher. Boy, that sounds interesting. But it really is like engaging because of all this peripheral stuff of the visuals they have of her personality. She was an engaging figure, an eccentric figure. She dressed like kind of a old like golden age movie starlet, and she would go on these talk shows and mix it up with people. It was so they have a lot of footage, way more footage than you would ever expect from this person who I can't stress enough, I'd never heard of before. And they use all these visuals to tell this story of her. I was a little, I don't want to say bait and switch with the title. They call it The Disappearance of Share Height. So the whole time I'm watching the movie, I'm like, okay, and at some point,
she's going to get kidnapped.
And she's going to fall off the edge of the world, and no one's going to know where she went, and it's going to turn into the murder mystery. Because anytime there's like a celebrity murder, we all seen enough true crime stuff where it's like, here's their story, here's their background, here's what they did, and then the tone changes. But like, 75 minutes into the movie, and she's still doing,
she's on Colbert.
Yeah, nothing dark has happened. So if it sounds like a true crime thing in our app, the movie is credited as documentary/thriller.
Yeah,
it's a trick. They're tricking you to watching the movie. So yeah, again, it's just a very engaging, not at all boring, fun look at this very interesting person who was totally like ahead of the curve in her field and just engaging on a personal level. But what I got from it, what I really appreciated, I think you kind of can see the death of intellectualism in America happening in real time via these TV appearances. Like,
I agree.
You'll see stuff in the 70s. She's talking to Geraldo of all people. Like, not exactly, ironically, he kind of goes on to be one of the, trashiest of talk shows there are. But this is like his 70s stuff. She's like, wow, so you did these surveys and you got this information. Well, yeah, I felt like this was never really studied properly. Interesting. Can you give us some examples of these questions you asked? I asked it, like full sentences being spoken, full conversations.
Then fast forward to like Oprah.
Well, yeah, and then it goes like, slowly through like, different talk shows. Like once you get to early 80s, it's like, we got you on a panel with other men and they're all talking at you. And then you get to, and the other tragedy of this is she publishes, you make your first book, you got to make another one. Her next book is on men's sexuality. Same principle. She sent out a survey, asked some questions, got some results. And, whereas with the one she wrote on women, people are like, wow, you're really shining a light on some stuff. This is really interesting. She wrote one on men, and the collective response was, fuck you. Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. No one's acting like this. No one really has these thoughts. No one really feels this way.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of heartbreaking because her survey that she got back, it wasn't like,
she didn't make it up.
It wasn't like lurid. And she's like, what are your findings, Ms. Height? And she's like, yeah, men are fucking miserable. They don't know what to talk to. They're lonely. They're sad. It's a bleak world out there. And to which men respond with, fuck you. It is not. Who are you asking? Who has time to fill out these surveys? Shut up.
Like,
she was so ahead of her time because now that's all men talk about are those issues. You like in terms of, you look at media and what's discussed now and what's more in play. A lot of those topics come up.
Well, yeah, because none of the conditions changed except for the AR-15 rifles that got put in their hands. And and we have to kind of ramp up how much we talk about it now because you keep fucking killing people because we're miserable. Anyways, but the medium of which she was discussing things with people, these calm conversations just leave the room and you get into that Reagan era and post-Reagan era. And even to say Reagan era, I think anytime you have like a president or really, I think they're almost like a conduit for public consciousness in a sense. They are never causing the wind to blow, but they are the result of the way in which the wind is blowing. And the way in which the wind was blowing in the 80s was leaning towards conservatism and particularly anti-intellectualism. And that was reflected in the popular culture, the Andrew Dice Clay era, the Married with Children era. So you're this, eccentric feminist writer during this time, and you're trying to go on shows to talk about your new book and like you're facing, she goes on Oprah, which you would think is like a pretty neutral situation, but
Turns out it's not.
It's-
for her episode.
I mean, yeah, because Oprah, if you forget, early on was pretty trashy.
Yeah.
Ironically, you would think if all you know is Geraldo versus Oprah, who's going to be the classy one? Well, the Oprah thing, she's talking about her book, and the entire audience was made of men. Like that was the gimmick to get people to watch this. So they're just, crucifying this woman, the entire movie you've been getting this insight into her sensitivities and her inquisitive mind and like all the struggles she's gone through to get this. And then you just see this panel of Reaganite men just being like, oh, I think you're full of shit, more or less. Not full on Jerry Springer stuff, but basically the swamp from which the Jerry Springer kind of media arose. So aside from giving, this portrait of this writer, you're also kind of seeing the death of American intellectualism and any kind of place that academia had in the pop culture sphere. And it's kind of fascinating to watch happening on screen chronologically through this one woman's experience. The disappearance, if you will, is kind of that she essentially exiled herself in Europe. I don't even know. Even that's a little sensational. Her books were more well received in Europe, so she just moved to Europe, and that's it.
Just people were not harassing her,
right?
The same way that they were over here. And she like didn't have money to have the kind of lifestyle that she wanted or that she had enjoyed over here for a little while. Mm-hmm. That was sad. So yeah, disappearance is more like she just went over there.
It's a good way of putting it, though. It's like she kind of just ran through the whole cycle of the decline of intellectualism. I mean, to the point where I don't know if it was her last interview, but one of her last, she went on Colbert when he was in character.
Right.
And that character, it's like, it's intellectual comedy with quotes around it by pretending to be dumb and, like 80s style.
Yeah.
So I think one of the questions he asked her was like, so you invented the female orgasm? And it gets laughs, it's funny, it's smart, but it's also like he's just mimicking a dumb person.
Well, Colbert was, who was that? Bill O'Reilly. He was like basically doing a caricature of Bill O'Reilly. It's also very funny to see Colbert versus what we know him as now when he's still in character interviewing this lady. Yeah, it's an engaging watch. Again, I know they know that it sounds bland, which is why they made it sound like a true crime story.
Put a thriller on it.
But ironically, I would probably be more inclined to watch just a straight documentary about a writer than I would a true crime story. So maybe they'll lose some people too, but hopefully gain more than they lose with the title.
They should start by actually having a one sheet or a movie poster for this thing, because like I was just flipping through the app, like seeing what's coming up, and I would just gloss right past this blank space, where this movie is, and then it took you seeing it and going, hey, go see it, it's really good.
Yeah.
Which is really funny considering how visual this movie is.
Yeah, they couldn't come up with...
Couldn't choose one. They couldn't pick just one.
Much.
Yeah, too much variety. I think my favorite part, which is kind of weird to say, but is always when you see how things are taking a toll on someone personally. You put so much into what you're doing. She like really believed in all this stuff, worked really hard, worked all the time to get this stuff out there, and then started getting people just kind of being dismissive of her and having to like fight every time she would make an appearance with people just trying to, it's like clickbaity.
Yeah.
She got like bait and switch when she went on one of the interviews, and they're like, okay, now we're going to talk about this. And it's like, we said we were going to talk about my work, not about like my personal life or whatever. And then they're like, well, why don't you just talk about it? She's like, this is under false pretenses that you have me here to do this interview. If you want to talk about my book, we can, but no, I just want to know, why did you? And she's like, okay, I'm leaving. She loses her composure as time goes on because she's just so beat down, from all these horrible experiences that she has.
That's like the kind of dawn of the Inside Edition, like gotcha journalism.
Yeah. Really sad because, like I said, it's like very visual, and you see the light in her get snuffed out as time goes on, to the point where when she leaves, she's just like she just doesn't have anything left. She's all used up. She's over it. It is really sad to see her in these interviews just exasperated with people, and not hiding it either.
What made she lasted that long? You know, like spending
Yeah.
decades. Because like it just when she hits the 80s, it's just like God damn. Man.
Yeah, and you could just tell it's just culture has changed. It's
Yeah.
not that beatnik New York Bowery stuff
all.
anymore. It's like, why I gotta, fellas, boys, listen up. It's a very important cameo in this film. She gets an apartment in New York City. I don't know if you ever heard of it. New York City, very important place. She gets an apartment after she makes it, and they start interviewing her neighbors, one of which is Gene fucking Simmons, who pops up and is the most normal and human I've ever seen Gene Simmons. That is a guy who is always on and always like, yes, as a rock and roll demon, I have to say, you know, like he's always that. And this is the only time I've ever seen Gene Simmons, and I've seen a lot of Gene Simmons interviews, just be like, yeah, she was a neighbor. She was a really interesting person. She had an inquisitive mind. She would ask questions, then she would ask follow-up questions. And I always liked that about her. Like, wait, you're not.
Who are you?
Yeah, what the? Obviously, you know, the guy has like business acumen with all the branding he does, but like you'd never expect Gene Simmons to be like a human being. And he's like,
I know, yeah.
He's goddamn, like obviously there's some sort of like, you know, he's an entertainer, you know, there's some kayfabing you got to do when you're doing interviews, especially when you're dressed up like a fucking demon. Yeah. But man, he really is just putting on an act all that time, because this is him being totally straight and being like, oh yeah, Donna Summers lived up the way too. I'm like, this is a cool pad, man. Mm-hmm. So I think we've said our piece here. Share Height, The Disappearance of. Are we going to put this on the bestsellers list or put it in the used quarter bin? This is a bestseller to me. This is I think the only other documentary we've seen in the theater was that one on
Everybody.
Yeah, which was good, but just the sheer like pop culture element of this film and the fun of it all. I think it's an easy documentary of the year. I think that's why it's in theaters. They're gonna get an Oscar, right? So yeah, don't be surprised if you see this at the end of the year. And absolutely, when it hits some streaming service or whatever, if you want to see it in the theaters, I would go for it. Put the effort in. It's really engaging. But yeah, even if it's on, how about this? If it comes up on a streaming app, actually fucking pay attention to it, because visually it's very engaging. I'm going to have a thorough bestseller recommendation for The Disappearance of Share Height.
Yeah, put it on the bestseller list. It's really interesting because nobody hears about this woman. I guess that's the disappearance part, right? Where she was just kind of like swept under the rug for everybody.
Maybe even disappeared from the Western canon, because it's not someone who's discussed in the same breath as like a Gertrude Stein or something, when at one point maybe she was.
She just kind of got erased a little bit. But she's a really interesting person, just like a compelling figure. And that's cool to see. And she had like such a great, like there were a lot of attacks about the unscientific nature of the study that she was doing. And she was trying to explain something that is really annoying in academia, which is like, you can do clinical studies and stuff, but people are lying to you.
Right.
You need to get people to be honest, and to get people to be honest, you have to like give them the space to respond, and then kind of be able to take things out of that, not just like yes or no questions that are easy to lie about, and to have it be anonymous. People are not gonna, she even made this point. She was like, people were calling on the phone and being like, asking these, questions that I'm sure, especially at that period of time, people would be like, essentially it sounds like a prank call, people calling you up and asking you these intimate questions, and, you're serving oatmeal to your kids or whatever. It's like, I'm not answering this. So it was cool that she had this person-to-person approach to her studies, and also had insight that gave her this way of studying sexuality in a way that other people didn't, because they were being too clinical, in that she was like part of a modeling world. She had been used to a male gaze and used her looks and stuff to fund the stuff that she really wanted to do. But it's a cool background to come from, to be like, look, I know all this stuff and I want to know what it's really all about. And then of course people were annoyed or tried to use that against her too, instead of seeing it as a strength that she could use to have a better insight into
what about
stuff.
10 years ago when you posed naked? Gotcha.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. She's like, okay, cool, that did happen. Do you have any other question for me? No.
No, but you were
Okay,
naked.
then. Next.
Yeah, add this one to the bestsellers. Let's hope it locks up some Oscars so that it gets more eyes on it. And it'd be nice to turn the ship around and get back to those types of conversations and ways of looking at things.
Bro, you got to check out this podcast I listen to, dog.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan. Bro, he be talking to people, dog. 3 hours long.
Can you bring up a picture of a book?
Wow, look at that. Look at that.
So
Look at those pages.
feminism,
Look at them go.
huh?
It kind of sucks, right? Like, people are
It's
over
like kind
it.
of a dated concept, huh?
Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, dude?
What's up?
What did you do last night?
Oh, well, I saw a really good movie.
I cannot wait to hear you
do you
describe
want to
this film.
explain it? Do you want me to
No.
describe it?
You read whatever you have written
You
down.
want to describe? You don't want me to do it? Okay. Well, everyone, Colin and I, with addition of one other single man in the theater, saw The Oath last night. 400 AD, in a forgotten time of ancient America, a lone Hebraic fugitive must preserve the history of his fallen nation while being hunted by a ruthless tyrant. But rescuing the king's abused mistress could awaken a warrior's past. Billy Zane as King Aaron, Darren Scott as Moroni, Nora Dale as Bathsheba, Karina Lombard as Mahigana, and it's also written and directed by Darren Scott, who also did the January 6th Capitol attack. He was a participant.
He did the January 6th Capitol.
He was a participant in that.
That was Darren Scott Souther. This is just Darren
this
Scott.
is Darren Scott. I'm sorry.
Different guy.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
I don't know why he dropped the last name, but something about that date. And I don't know how involved he is. I tried to find like dirt, but these things get.
He was there.
If you're there, that's
apparently.
enough in my book.
Yeah.
And it is just too funny of a narrative to run with. I want to believe you're hanging out next to the guy with the bullhorns or whatever. I'm running with it.
Yeah.
So, okay. We've seen our fill of Bible movies this year.
Yes.
And I was like, all right, I'm well versed in Bible stuff now. And this movie doesn't scream Bible movie at you. There's a world where you could look at the posters and like the trailers as just kind of a sword and sandal kind of movie. But there's the different categories of Bible movies I have. There's genre ones where they're just like, hey, it's a horror movie, but it's Bible stuff. And then there's the classic model Jesus persecution ones, which is there will be no prayer in my school, like Grandma Chain Letter Bible stories. We'll put that one in there. And then there's like the just stories from the Bible, just told as they were, dramatizations. I think the latter is the respectable. They're not as funny to watch, but kind of if you're going to watch a Bible, Exodus, 10 Commandments, there's like classic, huge moments in cinematic history that are like important to view that are Bible movies. This isn't that though, but it's like slowly looking like that as we're watching the movie. But they're in like lush forests, eagles are flying around. They're all old timey names. I'm not like a Bible scholar or anything, but you start talking about Moronis and Bathshebas and tribes and descendants and all that. I'm like, all right, yeah, Bible stuff. I got it. This is like something in Acts that I don't know about or whatever. I'll buy it. Tell me the story. I'll learn my scripture in the theater. So, my confusion, I'll just skip ahead to what this film really is. This is a Mormon movie. Not just your run-of-the-mill Protestant scum, but LDS tales. And like, when people try to tell me about Mormon stuff, it just kind of blurs in my mind. I'm like, yeah, they're kooky. I got it. I kind of don't care about like those kind of factors. Like, hey, do you know that these guys believe in da-da-da-da-da? It's cheap. Every religion has kooky shit they believe in. If you just look at the nuts and bolts of like, here's what they believe, it's always going to seem silly. I mean, shit, the scientific community, these Reddit atheists like so much, they were putting leeches on people not too far ago. Let's not put everyone's got wacky shit. A cool person's a cool person. The end. So, but Mormon stuff, There is a little bit of pepper on it. So the story, and we'll talk about the film in a second, but the story as it pertains to the plot of the film, aside from like magic underwear, is like Jesus in America. And that is the fucking what of Mormonism that you can hook people on. So there was a tribe in Jerusalem who came over to America. And I guess in like older Mormon stuff, they were just like somewhere in the Americas. We don't know. And I guess there's a movement, I think they call it nativism, where they're like, no. It was like USA, bitch. Yeah. Like, we're not talking fucking Central America or the USA. And this movie's like New York. 400 AD. So it's like, all right, sure. So the story goes, and this is like some Wikipedia diving. I listened to a podcast about it. Like I did a little bit of like, just because it's such an odd tale. The tribe from Jerusalem comes over to USA in BC, actually, like 600 BC.
What?
Yes. This is again, Wikipedia here. This is not in the movie. This tribe, and there's a whole reason for the splits. I'll let you figure out. Fractured off into two people: the Nephite and the Lamanites. And again, if you're not LDS, I don't think you've ever heard these names before.
Did they offer any mode of transportation for them getting here in 600 BC? Like a land bridge situation?
It's just trust me, bro, is how they got here.
Got it.
So
no problem.
Again, as far as what you might know about the Mormon stuff, this Joseph Smith guy, you know that.
Yeah.
He finds some book, and the angel of Moroni, Captain Moroni, who was a Nephite, head of the table, he told Joseph Smith, dude, there's a book that you got to check out buried under this thing. And he opens it up, and it's these golden tablets, and it has all the information about the history of the Nephites and Lamanites and the Jerusalem people that came over here in, again, 600 BC. And this part I'm hazy on. I think either the tablets disappear after he's done reading them.
Yeah. Nobody else can see them.
Or he transcribes them. Yep. Again, just trust me, bro. And
he was a teenager at the time.
This is the origin story of those tablets. And
okay.
Yes. So not Joseph Smith finding the tablets.
We do, you know what? Yeah, we do need an origin story of
we
the tablets.
We do. And if we're going to kick off the LDS cinematic universe, no better place to start than here. So apparently there was some kind of bait and switch with the movie itself getting made. There is this long, crazy battle between the Nephites, who were like, Jesus is sick, we love God, and the Lamanites, who were like, God sucks. And there's
lame is in the name.
Yeah.
Wait. They talk about Jesus?
Well, yeah, at some point.
That long ago?
He's
not born.
Well, okay, we're getting there. Okay. So they have schism in their own clan, and it's a god of Joseph that they talk about in this movie. So like Yahweh, the dude. The Nephites, cool dudes, love Yahweh. The other guys are like, whatever. We're in America now, baby. We're in New York City. We do what we want. And there was like a war.
Across.
There was like a crazy war that went on forever. And apparently the Kickstarter that he got to get the movie made, or like get the ball rolling, or like what he wanted to make, was that war, which was just this epic battle. What we get is the last Nephite, Moroni. There's one. He is the last survivor. He's hunted down by as many Lamanites as they could afford, which is like half dozen Lamanites are chasing the last one. So it's like way, way, way after the war. Again, 400 AD now. Oh. They prior to the movie starting, they landed, they splintered off, they were fighting like crazy. And again, I can't stress enough, this is in the Book of Mormon. This isn't like, don't go looking for the Natural History Museum omitted these facts. Here's where it gets pretty cool. You know how when you reject God and he curses you, you get dark skin?
All the time. That's why I'm the way I am.
Yeah, you get dark and you're just bad and you're evil.
Yeah.
Like you kind of resemble God. Who's like the worst people? Native Americans. You start to look exactly like them. Yeah. And then in Mormon lore, that's why we have the Native Americans, is because that was the tribe that said F you to God, and they cursed them with dark skin so as to be unappealing to the Nephites, the cool, perfect, fair-skinned, awesome bestest dudes, and this is the last of the dudes. This is the last best dude. He is crispity crackly white. He's got that like middle-aged steroid thing where it's not like you're like in your 20s and you're
Kind of puffy.
no, you're not really puffy.
No, he does a lot of like CrossFit
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
like kettlebell.
But you're
Which
still
he does, you forgot, he does do a kettlebell workout with like rocks.
Yeah.
And he does pull-ups. He
Bro,
fucking found branches
There's
and did pull-ups.
so many fucking montages in this movie. It's insane. So, you're not like John Cena, but you're way more ripped than just a middle-aged man who works out a lot. You know, like there's some, come on now, scaling those fucking Congress walls. You don't get that ripped, you know, not Natty style. And this guy definitely like, so he's the director, he's the writer, he's the star.
He's the star?
He's the star.
Wow.
And
I
he's,
thought you said rioter.
well,
writer,
that too.
writer. Yeah.
He was just there, bro. He didn't riot. They were all just there. I don't know. Anyways, so he was like jacked and oiled up. So as the film itself, again, this is background story to get us to the tale that we're about to watch, which is so fucking batshit crazy. And why I'm less confused watching this whole thing is because I don't know any of that. And they don't do the best job explaining that this is.
Oh, really? The Kickstarter movie didn't
Strange. So really, you're just watching montages of this fucking DILF like doing kettlebell presses.
Oh my God.
And like, you know, surviving in the woods while 6 of these cursed dark-skinned Lamites are hunting him. So oddly, they did get real Native Americans to portray these fictional, again, not actual tribe. I would liken the costumes to like if 80s wrestlers were to like dress up like Native Americans, you know, buff dudes with feathers and crazy makeup and everything. They're chasing them for a lot of the movie and trying to find them. They're evil, but they speak actual Blackfoot, not the fictional language of this fictional group of people, but like actual Blackfoot, and they have actual Native American actors. So, you know, that's one thing that this guy has in common with Scorsese. Maybe there's more. This might be the most amateurish film we've seen like in theaters. Dylan,
Yes.
this year, can you think of something that was more just like, not even really low budget or cheap looking, but just like a random old episode of Hercules or Xena from the 90s? Much
like
better
if,
looking, feeling, costume design, everything just buries this film, right?
If Hercules was on like History Channel.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because
Like,
it's like, oh, there's a bear in the cave?
hold on, don't cut straight to the bear.
Hey. Hey, I'm just trying to explain in the best possible way this movie.
All right, let's give it to him. Let's
Go ahead.
paint me a picture. No,
You
no,
do
no.
it. You want me to do it?
You do. Paint us the picture of one of the funniest scenes I've seen in any
And I
movie
had to
this
walk
year.
out in theaters because there was a guy in there and I felt really bad for laughing really hard. So, what's his name? Maroney and the girl, the lady, they're walking.
Okay, so yeah, at some point, the plot of the movie is that Bathsheba, who is from the horrible people tribe, she's sick of being beaten by them, and so she kind of amscrays and she stumbles into the arms of the only other person in the entire world, which is this Nephite commander, Captain Maroney. And this is where it's confusing. I don't know if Captain Maroney and Maroney are the same guy. I think he
idea.
might be the son of the guy that led all the people to kill everyone, but that's besides
Do
the
you
point.
think that's what the fucking soul that they keep seeing? The
No,
angel?
I think the soul that they see, the angel Maroney, the one who told Joseph Smith where the shit was buried, that is the guy who led the Nephite army in the battle that happened before this movie filmed. And so I think what we're watching is his son, who is the last person to write the tablets that eventually the angel Maroney showed, there's like sculptures of that guy everywhere over in the LDS world. That angel makes some appearances in the film too.
Yes. Anyway, so they're walking back to the cave, and you just hear like roar, and I go shit
Off screen, very off screen.
You don't see anything. He's like, oh, there's a bear in the cave.
So this lady, she's with him, and they speak different languages. This tribe is splintered. And let me tell you how little they give a fuck about ever like subtitling this. The subtitles, I swear, are a default font on your iPhone.
Notes.
Like if you want to like caption a photo in your iPhone pictures, it's the same font that you see at the bottom of the screen with like a drop shadow. So they don't speak the same language. And like immediately when she sees him, so that they don't have to subtitle the movie the whole time, she's like, me, no, run from you. It's like that kind of talk.
Whoa.
Rough. And he's like, why were you running from them like a wolf of some kind? Me no wolf. Me woman. You knee fight. You bad. Like that kind of shit for like a good chunk of the movie until they have a montage where she learns the language. So yes, they're walking along. They've made peace. They like each other. They're cohabitating. They walk past. They hear the bear roar off screen.
Yes. Then he's like, oh, shoot. Well, he doesn't curse. So he's like, oh, man, there's a bear. And then she's like, what color bear? Black. Okay. Crouch down. Okay. Turn round. Okay. And then she climbs on his shoulders. Stand up.
I cannot see. For my Venture Brothers heads, they pulled a Mecha Shiva where they're just like, one's on his shoulders and he's just wiggling his arms. Anyways.
And she starts roaring, get out here. Get out of here. And then the camera pans really fast. And all of a sudden it zooms into like stock footage of a baby bear.
No.
Like running around like a forest.
No.
So.
Like different quality of
visual.
No.
It just the camera pans so fast.
Like
and then all of a sudden it just ends up on a bear. Like a baby one, like a small bear.
But no, cut scenes on the History Channel is a great way to describe the tone of like the quality of film. Imagine like there'll be people like ancient hunters in 400 BC in the Americas had to scavenge for food. And then you see this guy looking around. You know, this is a personal thing. Whenever he runs, it looks like he's like running through tires like at a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
But he's like
I wonder why.
Yeah, but he's like running through, you know, the forest. So yeah, imagine like, you know, some narrator narrating ancient man scouring for food,
and then
it
some
cuts
guy
to
in
this
like
guy.
Wristbands and like a little what's it called, little brown little
like a pelt,
just like around him, like running around. At some point he has like a bag. That was cool. He has like this like satchel.
Again, like background character, like not Aeolus, not Kevin Sorbo, like a background character, like a merchant. Someone shopping at a merchant in the background of a Hercules episode.
Yeah. God, this movie was fucking. And then the realization for us that it was a Mormon film at the very end.
Yeah, because he keeps like, oh, it's so nuts. He's like showing the girl. So the book itself that he's been inscribing his tribe's history on, the tablets that Joseph Smith discovers, which kickstarts the Mormon Church, it is gold. I think they're brass in reality, but they look like gold here. Every time they're on screen, lens flare.
Oh,
like,
like little like sun reflections off it. Dude,
day,
it's so sick.
night, anytime they're revealed.
And it's not even like once a scene. It'll keep happening every now. Like, okay, it happens when it first comes back on screen. Then like 4 seconds later, there's no cut. It just happens again. And then it's like in the shadow of like, it's like underneath a tree.
Just blinding light off
well,
of it.
you Lamites, gold never tarnishes. That's why there's lens flare off of it naturally.
So there's their history of the history of the people. It is huge, you know. So yeah, 10 Commandments, right? Like Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments. He's holding the tombstones, right?
Yes,
classic.
Yeah,
it's like 5 and
stone
5.
tablature.
Yeah.
This shit, like thick gold tablets with like, you know, chicken scratch engraved on them, which is the stuff that Joseph Smith read. 3-ring binder, like a DMV, like, you know, you lift the tablet and you turn it over the page, stuff written on the other side, and there's a 3-ring binder with these tablets. And this is like the origin story of the Mormon Church is this tablet that's portrayed on these films, and it's like, you know, there's like parchment and stuff, and there's all these like things where you're just like, did they have that? Would they have that?
To be fair, 400 AD New York might have had some 3-ring binders.
Big DMV city, so I get it, but it's like, I'll take the tablets. I'm accepting the tablets. Fine. You see him smelting gold. You see him engraving in
that
it.
he also dug up.
The binder, though,
yeah, when
in a book.
he opens up the rings like a regular binder, and then like has a problem like putting the thing in because it's too like thin for the hole.
This Mormon podcast I was listening to, they were like,
no,
yeah, that's that book in Mormon lore. It's like 250-ish pounds, like it's a heavy tome, and he's just like chucking it in a bag and like running through the forest with it, burying it away. When let's talk about, we'll close up with the goddamn the closer of all closers, Billy Zane, who is King Aaron of the Lamites, the big bad over there. When he starts going into him, How would you describe his voice, his choice of acting in this?
Billy
one?
Zane's?
Yes.
Amazing.
Good.
The only person that knows how to have fun in a movie.
He is hamming it up so hard. You know, like if you just say, "Hey, do a Robert De Niro impression," and like you just kind of scrunch up your face, kind of like you start there,
And he's
before
kind of
you
being
even say
sassy
anything.
to like be a little sassy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he starts with the face scrunch up, and then it's like kind of Daniel Day-Lewis, "I drink your milkshake" kind of voice. So you have these like actual Native Americans doing weird pidgin dialect of like, "Me no go with you," and then you have fucking Mr. Jan 6 who's just like, "My people, we must record our history on these tablets. This is the way of the Nephite people." And then Billy Zane comes in. He's like, "Well, hold on now there, King of the Nephites, huh?"
Yeah, he starts
Funny
going
to
like
see
as a
you
fucking
here.
washbuckling fucking pirate. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what's happening?
It's so nuts. And
He
like,
went from Scottish to pirate. It was awesome.
and to like, face off against him. He's just like, "Nah, I don't want to face you now in your grief," because he kills his wife Bathsheba and his kid, his son, his beautiful baby boy who
That
she was
wasn't
going to have.
born yet.
But he still has like a hand that's come out. Yeah, she's like pregnant, and it's PG-13, so the violence is
Off screen.
like like take a sword,
much like the bear.
like do like the like when you signal like cut it out or like cut the throat, like run your finger across your throat, but then do that with like a plastic sword and then like cut to someone off screen going, "Oh!" That kind of death is happening. So they kill his wife who is pregnant. Baby isn't born yet, and you just see him like grieving over her and just a little infant baby hand. Somehow
like bloodied.
like I don't know if that was like some Cannibal Corpse shit or something. Like the unborn baby hand is now there, but whatever. After that, fucking Billy Zane is like, "I don't want to fight you now in your grief, and I'm going to give you 1 day to prepare." I'm doing it too southern. It's like a little like,
Yeah, no, he's
"Hey,
like Irish. Yeah.
Irish man.
Okay, yeah, for a second I
I'll give
thought
you
it
a
was-
second. I'll give you a day. I'll give you a day to prepare yourself. And I don't want you praying or fasting to your God. I want you at full strength for a duel."
Jesus.
It was so fucking awesome. He's the best part of the film.
He is legitimately fucking
Other than the
sick.
fucking stock footage of the bear, Billy Zane's the only good part of the film.
And again, like it's like so much padding, drone. It's a beautiful area they're filming in, like just some wilderness national park kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and
no
just
one's
like
bothering them.
like 10 minutes of the movie is just drone shots of this, slow motion. Oh, the fight scenes when because at some point the grand conclusion is he fights these people, and I won't get into the details with the fight, but like it's almost like you had to do like the Zack Snyder 300 fast motion, slow motion, but like you had like an Android 7 or something. The fighting is literally like 1.25x on YouTube, like fast. It's not like it speeds up and then slows down and it goes fast.
Yeah.
Because the Zack Snyder thing is like normal fight,
Yeah.
slow down, back to normal. This is like 1.25 chipmunk voice fighting, and then cut to just like frame, and then chipmunk fighting. It's so poor, like fast cuts, motion blur.
I think what happens is that they're going so slow because they're like, we have to make this look real, but I can't hit you because it would hurt if I hit you.
They are just play fighting in the forest.
Yeah, but so I'm like,
They're LARPing.
I'm imagining they were like going slow with swinging the sword.
I think
but
we'll speed it up.
Yeah. But the head movements are so crazy; it looks like a fucking Saw cutscene of
Yeah,
like,
because they aren't thinking about that.
someone going through a fucking trap, so their head like is turning left to right, like fucking quick. Yeah. But it's like the sword is like it's all awkward. So that's why I think it's like they shot it slow, but they didn't think about it like moving their bodies
like incrementally.
Yeah.
Just their arms are slow.
Yeah. And then but they sped it up so it looks like a really bad music video.
Is this a faith-based movie of the year?
I don't know, man. There's
There's
some
a
good
lot.
ones.
The Bible baseball one where the kid
The Hill.
shows the cross on the baseball
The
diamond.
Journey to Bethlehem.
Oh, Journey to Bethlehem sounded.
That one sounded the best.
There's some stiff competition, but the Mormon factor on this, again, like
Oh, that was like insane.
Mormon lore is just so kooky that just the audacity to present it this straight-faced, it's awesome. I mean, I'm not going to say it's like so bad it's good. I don't know exactly what qualifies as so bad it's good, but it's bad enough where you can just bust on it and just make fun of it.
Yeah, this is the longest review of the episode for sure.
I've never seen LDS.
Yeah,
that's true. That is a new wrinkle. I thought of you guys the other day, and by you guys, I definitely do mean Dylan and Colin. I passed the Cavalry Church, which is the producer of so many of these faith-based movies.
We saw their origin story in Jesus Revolution.
Exactly, and it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. I remember like seeing it in like there was that Kelsey Grammer movie that we saw that was kind of a bait and switch. That was
Jesus Revolution.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay, so the oath. Dylan, are you going to break it?
There's a certain oath I won't break, which is disliking films. So I'm not going to break this oath.
Yeah, I'm also not going to break this oath. This is so unhinged.
Yeah.
This is so wild. There's a documentary going to be made about this movie that's going to be far more interesting than the movie. We may have just shot it right now. This may be the documentary about the movie. I don't know. But
it's just your voices over stock footage of a small bear.
Or just the movie itself.
Yeah, like with director's commentary.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to hear that, honestly.
I would do a director commentary.
You think the actors would come back for commentary?
They're ashamed.
That's what I would assume, right? They hate that they did this film.
Yeah. I made Dylan laugh the other day. We were watching a video of the guy who made this movie, kind of like shaming the LDS church for not fucking with it heavier. He's just like, I have so many people of different faiths have come together to support this film, but to see my own church that I was raised in not come to back and support this film, like. It was like, why is he talking like he's in Star Wars? It's all very like, Chancellor Dooku, you have not signed the trade negotiation that my chancellor has required of the Ubu people. But he's like making a genuine plea on YouTube to like have his church fuck with this movie more.
Now he's complaining.
You know the
and then now the video's deleted.
Yeah, he was complaining.
But the movie, like, you know, that Sound of Freedom movie, which is like genuinely probably going to change the landscape of cinema, which is a fucking insane statement. That guy was LDS too, Jim Ballard. He was the guy who...
He was part of this film, right?
No, he's of the similar strain of ideology, which I guess you could say is connected to a kind of Christian nationalism. There's a QR code you can scan at the end of the movie that'll redirect you to I don't know how to put it.
A list?
You take an oath.
Yeah.
You make an oath, and all of the things are like, it's so vague that it doesn't mean anything. You know, like love will always win over hate, and goodness is better than ungoodness, and like all these really vague terms, which is like, aren't you people like trying to fucking outlaw being gay or something? Like, why is this? But really just signs you up for their weirdo little groups, which I'm sure they'll use only
email
for
chains.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
gonna suck you into something crazier. But yeah, man, LDS is on the rise, bro. The LDS cinematic universe is gonna take off. We're all looking forward to the next films. I'm excited. Dylan, dude.
Yes.
What are we watching next week?
Unlimited.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Regal Movie Masters Unlimited. This week we got Wonka, and let me tell you, I'm fucking excited to see this goddamn movie. I need to see it ASAP, and you should too. Fuck, I'm excited. Okay everybody, we'll see you at the movies. Bye.